Hello everyone, welcome to Backbenchers. I hope everything is going well with you all and I hope you all are fine. Today we will be studying about the second portion of the chapter Absorption by Roots. We have already finished our introductory part in the previous class. So if you haven't seen it, make sure you go and check it out. This is the revision of the chapter and we have already finished introduction. Today we are going to be discussing about roots and its advantages. And then these are the rest of the portions which we are going to discuss later wise. And apart from all these parts I have said, I have kept a separate doubt class for you all where I'll be answering all of your doubts. So make sure you all write your doubts in the comment section and I'll be shortlisting the most important, most frequently asked doubt and will answer it in the doubt class. Moving on with the chapter of roots and its advantages, this is going to be slightly bigger than the previous class because the previous class was just the introduction class, so it was small. But this class is going to be a little bit bigger than the introductory class. Anyways, before moving on with the chapter with the portion of roots and its advantages, here are some questions from the previous session. This is the first question. Which mineral has the following function in plants? Promotes nuclear and cell division and synthesizes chlorophyll. And this is the second question. Which mineral is a constituent of the protoplasm? Both of these questions are very, very important. So make sure you all go through these questions and write the answer in the comment section. I will be checking the answer for you all, definitely. Let us start with the portion of roots and its advantages. Let us look into this diagram carefully. This is a well-watered flowering plant. We all can see this is a well-watered flowering plant. It has a perfect flower, perfect leaves, perfect network of roots. So it has a perfect shoot system and a perfect root system as well. Now we will just focus on the root system more. So for focusing into the root system, I would like all of you to just carefully observe this particular picture. This particular picture. If we carefully look into this picture, we can see that it has a perfect organized root. It has primary root, it has root cap, it has secondary roots, and then it has root hairs. So from this diagram we can conclude one thing at least, that the root hairs are very tiny hair-like structures, right? If we just consider this to be the root of a particular plant, then we can say that the root hairs, the root system is very extensive. That is, it is present in the form of networks, and so are the root hairs, right? The root hairs are scattered and they are in the form of hair-like structures, and they are arising from this particular portion, which is the secondary root. So root hairs arise from secondary root of the plant. So by this particular diagram, we can conclude one thing, that the main absorbing substances of the plants is the roots and precisely the root hairs. The part of the plant which absorbs water and minerals for the plant is none other than the roots. And if we have to say it precisely, then it will be root hairs. Now, what are roots? Going for the definition, what are roots in plants? Roots are that particular part of the plant which mostly remains under the ground and plays some specific important function. Suppose this is the bottom, or this is the bottom of a root, this is the bottom of a plant, and it has a root system like this. We just saw the previous slide, we just saw in the previous slide the diagram which was made. It showed a root system, parts of roots, and this is the part of the plant under the ground. Why does this stay under the ground? Because it has to perform, or it has to play some specific important functions. So roots are those particular parts of the plant which mostly remains under the ground Why? For playing some very important functions. What are those functions? To fix the plant to the soil, to absorb water and minerals from the soil for the plants, which is in absorption. And third is to help in the transportation of water and minerals to the upper parts of the plant. Now, this is a very, very important point. Make sure you put a star mark. This is a very important point. All of you are known to this first point very clearly. We all know that roots are those parts of the plant which helps the plant to fix it to the soil. Then the second important function of the roots is to help the plant in absorption of water and minerals. So roots are the parts which help the plant in the absorption of water and minerals. Roots also help the plant in transportation of those absorbed substances to the upper parts of the plant. So roots are very specific in their functions, that is, they perform very important functions, and these functions are very, very necessary for the survival of the plant. If the plant is unable to stay, or if the plant is unable to stick to the ground, then it might not stay alive. So these functions are very, very essential for the plant itself. Now, for performing these functions, roots also need certain modifications, certain characteristics, certain weapons, you all can say. What are those weapons? Those weapons are nothing but the characteristics that they have. Some special characteristics, definitely, which are only present in roots of a particular plant. So let us look into the special characteristics of the roots for performing the important functions in the plants. First, let us look into this diagram. Look into this diagram. This is a very small seedling, but it has such an extensive network of roots. You all can see that, right? The shoot system of the plant is almost undeveloped, but if you see and look into the root system, then it's just huge. So by this we can conclude that under the ground, roots actually cover a lot of distance, a lot of surface area, and that can be proved even. So if these root hairs are placed like this in a single straight line, then it will be observed that they are covering more than 1 meter, 2 meters of distance, which is a lot of surface area. Hence, by this diagram, we can conclude that the surface areas of the roots are enormous. And surface area is very, very important for helping the plant to stick to the ground, to absorb substances in a better way, and to definitely transportation is also there. But this particular point, this particular characteristic is only for absorption and fixing. This characteristic helps the plant to fix to the ground, to fix to the soil, and it helps the plant in absorption of substances in a better way. Greater the surface area, better the absorption. Let us look into the second important characteristic, which is root hair cells contain cell sap of a higher concentration than that of the surrounding water. This point says that root hair cells contain cell sap. Sap is nothing but a solution, you can say. It's a homogeneous solution, or maybe just a solution of minerals and water. Minerals and water. So minerals and water together, when they make a particular solution, that is called sap. And cell sap is present in the vacuoles of plant cells. You all know plant cells have very large vacuoles in them, and inside the vacuole, cell sap is present. So the cell sap which the plant cells have, they are already of high concentration. And for this particular point, a lot of methods, a lot of processes are carried out with a lot of ease, which we are going to be discussing in the further portions of the chapter. But for the time being, you all need to know that for this particular point, For the presence of the cell sap of a higher concentration in the root hair cells, osmosis takes place. Why and how? This I will be explaining in the later parts of the chapter. So make sure you stay tuned and just stay up for the updates. They will be given soon, posted soon. Let us look into the third important characteristic of the roots that they have. And let us look into this diagram. See, this diagram just shows what I just said. See, it has cell wall and then it has a very large vacuole. See, you can see that most of the place, the maximum amount of the place is taken and consumed by the vacuole that plants have. So plants have very, very large vacuoles and therefore they have a higher concentration of minerals and water in them. But one more important thing you can observe in this diagram, that is the thin root hairs, the thin root hair cells. This is the thin cell wall. Plants have both cell wall and cell membrane. You all are known to that. And both of them are very thin because the plant cells maintain a particular shape. That's why they are thin and their outer ends. And for being thin, what happens is they allow the very, very easy entry of water through them. Plant cells have cell wall, which is thin in nature. Cell wall allows the easy entry of water molecules through the cells. Why? Because cell wall is freely permeable. You all know that as well. Cell membrane is semi-permeable, cell wall is freely permeable, and hence it allows the easy entry of water. So if it allows the easy entry of water, then it helps in absorption very easily, and therefore roots are the parts of the plant that perform or that play a role in the absorption of substances. So now you all can understand that why do roots have to absorb the substances for the plant? Why any other portion of the plant cannot do it? It's because roots have these specific special characteristics in them. First, they have enormous surface area. Second, they contain cell sap of a higher concentration. And third, they have thin cell walls, which is freely permeable. Hence, it allows the free entry of water through them. So, it has these amazing characteristics, these amazing weapons you all can say, for which roots are those special parts of the plant which help in absorption. Now let us look into the processes through which roots absorb these substances. There must be few processes, right? We looked into why does roots absorb substances. We looked into how can they absorb substances. We looked into why are they the only organs that can absorb substances. Now we need to understand and know how, with the help of what kind of processes are roots able to absorb water and minerals for plants. There are basically four types of processes. Number one is imbibition. Number two is diffusion. Number three is active transport. And number four is osmosis. In today's video, we are just going to be keeping up till active transport. And we are going to be discussing osmosis in our next chapter, next video. So let us just start with imbibition. Imbibition is basically home science, what I like to call it, kitchen science, because imbibition is very well performed by the cooks that we have. It can be our moms, it can be the cooks of a restaurant. How and why, that I'll be mentioning. But before that, you all just closely look into this diagram. We can see in this diagram that first we have taken some dry seeds in a beaker full of water. Also, you have to mark the level of water here. The level of water is this much. After some time, what we are going to observe, that the dry seeds have completely absorbed water and swollen and become puffed. And the level of water has also fell, which proves that the seeds have absorbed water. Now the seeds are non-living things, and here a germinating seed also absorbing water. See, the example of germinating seed is a living example. Now, let us see the definition of imbibition. The phenomenon by which living or non-living substances absorb water or liquid by surface attraction is called imbibition. A lot of unknown terms are here. A lot of confusing terms are in this definition. We all will clear those definitions out. First of all, living or non-living. Why? Because living and non-living, both the substances can perform imbibition. See the example. Dry seeds are non-living because they have stopped, because they have already completed their life cycle. They are dead seeds. On the other hand, this particular seedling, it's germinating. In the germinating state, this is living and this is non-living. So living and non-living is cleared that both living and non-living substances can absorb water or liquid. What is surface attraction? So surface attraction in biology means nothing but a simple force of attraction. In this case, the dry seeds are attracting the water molecules towards them to just go inside them. The dry seeds are absorbing water due to the attraction that they are putting towards the water molecules. So that is simply surface attraction. It is nothing but the attraction, intermolecular force of attraction that is provided by a particular substance on a liquid, due to which what happens is the liquid molecules go inside the particular substance or diffuse in the particular substance. That is what is done here. This dry seeds are performing surface attraction. They are attracting the water molecules to diffuse into them, and hence they are absorbing water after some time, and then they are becoming swollen and puffy. In this case also, this is the living germinating seed, and it is also absorbing water from the soil, and then it is increasing its size, and it's becoming like this. So this phenomenon is only known as imbibition. It is nothing but just a simple process, a simple method, a simple situation that happens, uh, due to which what happens is living or non-living substances absorb water by liquid, absorb water or liquid by surface attraction. A very good example of imbibition in our day-to-day lives is, you all will notice in your homes that when your moms cook chickpeas, what they do is they soak the chickpeas in water the previous night, and when you wake up in the morning, you will see that the chickpeas have completely swollen and they have absorbed water and they are ready to be cooked now. So this is basically a home science that is performed by all of us in some or the other ways. Now, one more very important thing about imbibition is all substances cannot undergo imbibition. It is clear that it is just a simple process by which water is just absorbed by surface attraction, and both living and non-living substances can absorb and imbibe. But the substances which are hydrophilic in nature, means the substances which have strong affinity for water. Affinity, or you can say attraction, it is easier to understand. Affinity or attraction. So the substances which are hydrophilic in nature, that is having a strong attraction or affinity for water, only those substances can undergo imbibition. Certain examples of those substances are cellulose. Cellulose, you all are known to cellulose, is present in the wood. Woods have very strong affinity for water, and that's why what happens is in monsoon season, wooden doors and windows, they are always damp. Why? Because they imbibe, they perform imbibition, and they absorb some water from the atmosphere. They absorb some moisture from the atmosphere. And that's why they are always damp during monsoon season. Let us look into certain examples. Some examples of dry substances are wooden doors and windows, and some examples of semi-dry substances are chickpeas soaked in water, raisins soaked in water, seeds soaked in water. Any dry substance, if you soak it in water, they become semi-dry substance. So those are the examples of substances that go through imbibition. That was all about imbibition. Let us look into diffusion now. We will understand diffusion with the help of this particular experiment that is performed here. 3 beakers are there. All of them are containing the same amount of water, and they are named as A, B, and C. In the first beaker, we have taken this particular thing, which is here. This is just a crystal, painted crystal, or you can say potassium permanganate crystal. Potassium permanganate crystal is basically pink in color. Potassium permanganate is pink in color, hence its crystal is also pink in color, and we have added a crystal in water. So it is basically concentrated in this particular portion. You all can see. After some time, we will see that this color of the potassium permanganate is spreading in the whole liquid. And after some time, we will see that the color has completely spread in the whole liquid, and the whole liquid has the same color. So what is happening here is the concentration of the dye is flowing from the region where it is more concentrated to the region where it is less concentrated. Here, this particular corner of the beaker is more concentrated. Let me just highlight that for you all. This particular region of the beaker is more concentrated. And the rest of the water is less concentrated. You all can see. The rest of the water is less concentrated. So this portion is more concentrated, and the rest of the portion is less concentrated. So what is happening? The ink or the color is spreading in all the directions where it is less concentrated from the direction where it is more concentrated. This is what is called diffusion. If we have to look into the definition, then we can just simply understand, or we can just simply say that it is the free movement of substances. Free movement, why it is said free movement? Because it is not obstructed or not stopped by anything. It is the free movement of substances. What kind of substances? It can be anything. It can be solute, solvent, gas, or liquid, anything from the region of high concentration to the region of low concentration. The only requirement is when the two are kept in direct contact. So the direct contact is very, very important to be there for diffusion to take place. Here also, there's a direct contact between the crystal and the water, and hence the color or the ink of the crystal is spreading to the whole liquid column. That is diffusion by definition. Diffusion happens through the cell wall since it is freely permeable. In roots, the part of the roots that absorb or that carry out diffusion is cell wall. Why? Because cell walls are freely permeable and they absorb water with ease. We have already known about it in our previous slides. In this particular video, we have already discussed about this particular portion. So diffusion happens through cell wall because it is freely permeable and because it just allows the water to enter through it freely. This was the example of diffusion. Now this was the example of diffusion in plants. Let us check out an example of diffusion in real life. It is a very common and known example. Perfumes, when sprayed in one part of the place, it gradually spreads to the whole place. So this we have all noticed. If something is spread, some sort of smell is spread, some sort of essence, fragrance is spread in one part of a place, it gradually spreads to the whole place slowly. And all of us get to smell something, smell a particular type of aroma, we can say. That was all about diffusion. It's a very simple topic, very easy to understand. All you have to remember is it's just flowing. It's simply a flow of substances, the free movement of substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. If you all are having trouble remembering it, you all can simply take the example of the concept of heat. You all have the chapter of calorimetry in class 10. You all know this thing about heat, that when two bodies of different temperatures, suppose, let us consider here, this body has a temperature of 50 degree and this body has a temperature of 10 degree. And if these two bodies are kept in contact, then heat flows from the hot body to the cold body, right? This is the hot body and this is the cold body. So heat is flowing from the hot body to the cold body until both of them come to a similar sort of temperature, a similar amount of temperature, or you can say both of them gain to the same temperature. Similarly, in diffusion also what happens is there's a free movement of substances happening from the region of higher concentration, which is this particular portion in this diagram, to the region of lower concentration, which is rest of the portion of the water. So it is just similar to the concept of heat. If you all have trouble remembering diffusion, then you all can take example of the concept of heat here. Let us understand active transport now. Active transport is a bit different and out of the box process. Let us look into this diagram carefully and let us try to find out the differences in this diagram and the process of diffusion that we just now discussed. What are the things that are new? Okay, first of all, the presence of cell membrane is new. In diffusion, there was no mention of cell membrane. Second is this thing, that is, substances are moving from low concentration to high concentration. That is also completely opposite. Yes. So if you all are able to point the differences out, then it is going to be very easy for you all to understand that what is active transport. Active transport, as the name suggests, it's active in nature, definitely. Active transport is a very unique type of process. See, what happens is, we have already discussed it in the characteristics of roots. Root hair cells already contain high concentration of dissolved minerals in them, right? That is a special characteristic of roots, that they already have high concentration of dissolved minerals for which osmosis takes place. But what happens is, in order to complete the process of absorption, in order to complete the ongoing process of absorption, what happens is some minerals are needed to be absorbed, despite of the fact that there are already a high concentration of minerals present in the roots. So what is happening here? Root hair cells already contain dissolved substances, already contain high concentration of minerals in them, but still minerals from the surroundings are forcibly pushed into the cell. So there's a force required. If this is the cell and this is the surroundings, then minerals from the surroundings are pushed towards the cell, which already contains high concentration of sap. So a lot of energy is required here to do something out of force. This particular process is known as active transport. So if we have to look into definition, it's just a process in which passage of substances happen or passage of substances takes place from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration across a semi-permeable membrane. Very important, these particular lines are which I have underlined I'll highlight them as well for you all so that you all never forget that active transport is a phenomenon in which passage of substances takes place from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration across a semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane, why? Because just have a look into this particular thing. Let us consider a plant cell here. This is a cell wall. This is a cell membrane inside the cell wall. Okay, just a sec. Let me just draw it again. Okay. Plant cells have perfect cell wall. Inside the cell wall, this is the cell membrane of a plant cell. And then this is the vacuole, which contains sap. And the sap is of high concentration. Sap is of high concentration. Now, this is the surroundings, which consists of water particles, soil particles. Now, water has already reached the cell wall. Water has already crossed the cell wall through the process of diffusion. Cell wall is freely permeable and cell membrane is semi-permeable. Semi-permeable, it is freely permeable. Now, cell sap is present inside the cell membrane. So, for passing the water and minerals inside the cell membrane, the minerals have to cross a semi-permeable membrane, right? Which is the cell membrane. Therefore, in the definition, it is mentioned that active transport is a process in which passage of substances takes place from a lower concentration to a higher concentration across a semi-permeable membrane. The surroundings already have lower concentration, but the insides have higher concentration. And here in this process, substances are passing from lower concentration to higher concentration. That is, it is completely opposite of diffusion. That is why it is known as active transport. That is why it requires energy. This process requires energy, which is provided in the form of ATP. You all are known to ATP. What is ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. For the process of active transport to take place, ATP is very, very important because this is happening against the concentration gradient. This process is happening with a lot of much more force, a lot of force required. Hence, it requires a lot of energy as well, and the energy is provided by the ATP. So that is about active transport. Active transport is just the opposite of active transport, and it is just the opposite. Active transport is just the opposite of diffusion, and therefore diffusion is also known as passive transport. Passive transport. Diffusion. Diffusion is also known as passive transport. So active transport is a different and difficult, a little bit difficult, slightly difficult to understand type of process. But all you need to understand is it is done and it is important for the plant to complete its process of absorption. And that is why active transport is performed in plants. And it is just out of the box process. If you have difficulty in remembering it, you can just simply remember it through the help of diffusion. Whatever happens in diffusion, in active transport, just the exact opposite thing happens. There's a slight change in active transport, that is the presence of a semi-permeable membrane, and this process requires the energy also in the form of ATP. That is all about the three types of processes that we have, and that is all about the video of today's, all about the portions of today's. We have covered all the portions that we needed to cover in today's video. Make sure you write down your doubts in the comment section. And if you have understood, if you have found this video helpful, please share it with your friends as well. And definitely subscribe to this channel for getting more of such exciting topics to be covered in your syllabus. And stay tuned. Till then, stay happy, stay safe. Peace.